my world came crumbling apart in September 2010. The devastation of the loss of my son was more than I could bear, and the thought of reliving it over again was one of the reasons I had gone along with the more than generous pre-trial plea deal. After having sat through the horrendous and torturous reenactment of the crimes committed against my son, feeling the pain and anguish that he must have felt during his final days, listening to the lies and deceptions of the defendant, and in light of the jury's unanimous findings for the crimes committed against my son and MB, and now our family by submitting us to the pain and emotional frustration of the trial, I now see I must seek accountability under the laws of the state, under the guidance and direction of Judge Berman. I do not know what Tyler was thinking or why he did what he did, since he did not tell us. He obviously hid his feelings and thoughts very well. Even I had no idea of the despair and torment Tyler must have been feeling, and I thought I knew him. Tyler and I had been very connected, so much so that I felt like a piece of me died in September of 2010. That connection became very real to me again during the trial, as most of the time I was listening and watching, as if through Tyler's ears, eyes, and mind. The pain and anguish that I felt during the trial was overwhelming at times. As different pieces of evidence were presented, they would trigger memories, both good and bad, but nonetheless all bittersweet and sad. Even simple things such as Tyler's laptop reminded me of how carefully he explored his options and then chose the different features he liked best, including the blue color for the case. And the photos of his dorm room, reminiscing of how carefully we had shopped for all the components of his room, like the lamps and the bedding and all the other accessories. All the dates repeatedly mentioned during the trial, all triggering memories in my head, terrible, horrific memories that will forever hold me captive. Some memories seem good at the time, but now have taken on a whole new meaning for me during and since the trial, as I now have come to better understand of what really was occurring. One memory I now struggle with most is move-in day, the only day I ever encountered his roommate. Tyler was so excited about the move. I could sense a little nervousness on the morning, but still so very excited. We had gotten there early, close to the start time, so as to have lots of time to get settled before the activities of the day would begin. Oddly, his roommate was nowhere to be seen. All of the other rooms were crowded and busting out with people and excitement, but we were alone. We were able to get Tyler completely settled and organized, and had left to go to the bookstore to get his books before his roommate even arrived. When we returned with Tyler's books, the roommate and his family were present getting him settled. When we entered the room, we said hello, and the only response came from his mother. Then his father came over to say hello. The roommate ignored Tyler, continuing to work on his computer. He didn't even look up. In this tiny 10 by 14 foot room, it is pretty hard to hide or miss 3 people, but he never even paused to acknowledge that Tyler was even in the room. He never stopped what he was doing. Nothing. No greeting, no smile, no recognition, no nothing. He just continued in silence to work on his computer. Only after his parents called him over did he stop and come the 2 feet towards us to say hello. More to me and my husband than to Tyler. And then he went right back to what he was doing. At the time, I thought maybe he was stressed by trying to get his computer set up. But thanks to the defense attorney, I have learned that that was wrong. After all, he is such a computer expert. No stress there. I was also incorrect in thinking that maybe he was shy. Wrong again. According to the defense lawyer, he was extremely social and outgoing, making lots of friends in a very short amount of time. So that left me tortured and heartbroken yet again, as I sat in the courtroom to think and come to the realization that he came to Rutgers that fall with preconceived ideas about Tyler, and he never had any intention of befriending Tyler or even of being a considerate and trustworthy roommate. When most people get their roommates' names and emails, they might either go to Facebook and ask to be friends, or they could send an email and start a conversation. But yet again, another terrible, painful, unbearable realization I had to learn was Tyler's roommate did not follow any of these conventional social graces. No, instead, he took Tyler's email address and he put it into different search engines and found out what websites Tyler frequented. Based on what he found out, he judged Tyler. He decided he knew all he wanted to know about Tyler. Getting to know Tyler and developing a friendship with Tyler was not what he had in mind. The sad part is what he found out was only one part of who Tyler was. He never really knew Tyler. Not the smart, kind, articulate, humble, funny, talented, caring, thoughtful, generous, trustworthy, and dependable person Tyler was. All he found out was that Tyler was gay. The fact that Tyler went to the RA shows me just how totally overwhelmed and devastated Tyler must have felt. It was a monumental step that Tyler reached out for assistance. He rarely ever went for help from his teachers or others. He had always been very resourceful. This act of going to the RA shows me just how totally frustrated and out of control Tyler must have thought this situation was. Tyler knew how serious these actions were, and he knew the situation needed to be reported to the authorities. I can't help but still wonder why it was not reported to the police at that time. There may have been a very different outcome if it had. If setting up the webcam once was not bad enough, doing it a second time clearly knowing what he would see and then advertising and promoting it on his public Twitter page is just downright cold and vicious. And to make things even worse, to take credit for disconnecting the webcam after he knew Tyler had done it, and Tyler was not here to speak up for himself. That is just malicious and evil. How difficult and torturous it was for me to sit there and listen to the lies and deceptions of the defense. I am very grateful to Miss McClure for allowing the truth on that matter to shine and not to get buried. The truth will prevail, and it will either set you free or hold you in bondage. Another devastating part of the trial was learning how many times Tyler went back to his roommate's Twitter page those last few days. The frustration and turmoil must have been growing faster than the speed of light in Tyler's mind. It appeared from the evidence that this was probably the last thing Tyler looked at on his computer before he left his dorm room for the bridge on Wednesday, September 22nd, 2010. My question is, why didn't his roommate just request a roommate change? Why was he so arrogant and so mean-spirited and evil that he would humiliate and embarrass Tyler in front of his new dorm mates, the very people Tyler was trying to meet and become friends with? How could they all just go along with such meanness? Why didn't any one of them speak up and stop it? How did it spiral so out of control? They knew it was wrong, and yet no one stopped it. No one spoke up to the mastermind, the computer genius. We need to make sure everyone knows that these actions are wrong. They are mean-spirited, they are evil, and most important, they are against the law. To video chat a live stream of someone's most intimate actions without their consent or knowledge is wrong, and it's criminal. Tyler did not know how much was or was not observed. All that was racing through his head was what he was reading on the Twitter and Facebook pages. It is overwhelming and so painful just thinking about Tyler realizing what had happened and his confusion and distress as he tried to decide what he should do next. What could he do? He went to the RA, which was really, really big for him, monumental. Tyler must have been beside himself to do that. The anguish and frustration must have been insurmountable to him. Even now, 20 months later, I feel such sadness and grief, which quickly turns to anger and rage coming up from deep within me, just thinking about these events and what Tyler must have been feeling. What I want is justice. Many people are watching, and I am asking the court to do the right thing. The court needs to show the residents of New Jersey, and for that matter, the entire country, this was not right, and it is not acceptable behavior, and it will not be tolerated. I trust the Honorable Judge Berman will interpret the laws and impose the proper sentence that fits the crimes that were committed against my son and MD. Consequences that are significant enough for the defendant to wake up and realize that what he did was wrong. He broke the law, and New Jersey does not tolerate criminal actions without penalties. We are all responsible for our actions, and these actions were criminal and require accountability. No one is above the law. Justice must be served. I would also like to thank the entire Middlesex County Prosecutor's Office, specifically Mr. Bruce Kaplan, Ms. Julia McClure, Mr. Chris Shelbourne, Lieutenant Randy Caltrello, Investigator Frank Donino, Agent Nicole Ortez, Mrs. Jane Borino, Mrs. Diane Johnson, Ms. Christy Delgado, as well as the court employees, and Sergeant Keith Lane, and all the the officers of the court. Each and every member of this team performed in a professional and courteous manner, with the highest level of character and integrity. Their knowledge, skill, and expertise made the truth shine, and the outcome worth all the pain it caused my family. Because of their kindness, understanding, and compassion, I was able to bear a most intolerable situation. And I thank you.